Hi, I am Cam Coley with CLTWater. This is the Davidson Water Transmission Main public meeting. And first of all, we want to thank you for attending. And we will go over some general information about the project. And different members of the team will explain quite a bit of the details of this project, what to expect. And at the very end, we will have a question and answer session. Please hold any detailed questions to the end. If you have any technical questions, we will try to answer those as quickly as possible. First of all, this presentation will be posted on the website afterwards, so you can always come back to the recording. Additional information will be on there as well, and we will include a contact information near the end of this presentation as well. The next step will be taking this over to Stephen Scott, the project manager, who will give a quick agenda, what to expect with this presentation and public meeting, and also to the other members of the team. Take it over, Stephen.
Excellent. Thank you, Cam. So good evening, everybody. I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to go over the meeting for this project, so you can learn more about what's coming to Davidson. So I'll introduce the project team, go over what this project is if you happen to miss the meeting that we had earlier in the year. I'll go over what this project means. As we're moving towards construction, you'll be able to look into what to expect, what you're going to see, equipment and trucks, that sort of thing, along with our project schedule, and then we'll go into a question and answer session. So this is the project team. This is the primary project team. So I've got myself with CLTWater. We've contracted directly with Probst Construction out of Concord, and a sub to them is AECOM as the design engineer. So as we mentioned back in March, this is a collaborative delivery project where the design build team has worked together. AECOM and Probst have been together for the last year putting this project together, and now we're moving forward into construction. So we've got myself, Stephen Scott, CLTWater. I'm the project manager. And with Probst, we've got Brandon, the project manager, along with Jason and Jeremy. And our lead for AECOM is Philip Diekman, along with Preston and Chris. So as noted before, this is phase 3 of the Davidson water main, which means there were 2 phases before this one. We've got them shown here in green and purple. So, excuse me, we started in Cornelius a few years ago, started at Catawba Avenue and ran all the way to South Street in Davidson, right near Davidson Elementary School, and then continued up from Davidson Elementary School to Concord Road. That consisted of phases 1 and 2. So this is phase 3, which right now it's here shown in blue, which gets us to the county line at the north end of Davidson. So here's a brief description. So again, this is phase 3. The proposed route that we have, it starts just where phase 2 ended, and we cross Main Street and the railroad tracks to get on the west side of Davidson, and we generally follow Sloan Street up through Beatty and ending at Shearer Street at the county line. Noted here in the blue dotted line, we do have an alternate alignment that is still in review, and this is shown larger on the next page. Yeah, this is a larger version of phase 3. So phase 3 in the solid blue line, we're starting where phase 2 ended, coming up Sloan and then along Beatty and ending at Shearer. So the question is, why are we doing this project? Again, the third phase completes our efforts to increase system hydraulics in the area for our existing customers. So a large diameter water main, we don't have one right now in Davidson on the west side. What we've got on the east side are a few running under the tracks, and what that results in is all the current demand experiences a lot of pressure fluctuations during the day. So this new transmission main on the west side improves the system backbone here and will alleviate most of those pressure concerns for residents in the area. Additionally, providing more capacity for fire protection in the area. Again, this large diameter water main is now present. So all of the hydrants in the area, it bolsters what they can provide. and then overall increasing reliability of the water system. So I'm going to toss it over to Philip to give you a little overview of where we are to date and what we've done.
Thank you, Stephen. My name is Philip Diekman, and I work with AECOM, and we're the design engineer for this design build project. And as Stephen mentioned, we have finished our design for this project. We spent the last year or so looking at routes, doing some survey and some site investigation, and determining a preferred alignment, how we can meet the needs of Charlotte Water, and how we can lay this water line out to extend it to serve the Davidson area. And so we've completed design. We are wrapping up permitting and wrapping up easement acquisitions. If you're on and you have not been contacted about easement acquisitions, then that means we likely do not need easement from you. There have been very few easements that we have needed for this project. A primary goal of this project was to utilize existing road right-of-way, as to limit impacts to private property. This would allow for minimizing impacts and then also helping with the speed of construction, so that the impacts that do occur do not occur for an extended period of time. And so we focused on utilizing the road right-of-way, and when Brandon is with Approach Construction will speak to what to expect during construction, he'll have some pictures that'll show you what construction will look like, how we'll confine it to the road right-of-way as much as possible, and then how that can impact traffic too. And so we want to touch on that. But what we've accomplished over the last couple months since we last met is develop the construction and cost and schedule for this project, and have worked with Charlotte Water to see this project move from design to construction. Next slide. So the next steps that we're going to see with this project is we need to finalize our permits. There's a couple that we're still waiting on. Should come in any day now, but we've primarily got what we need for that. Charlotte Water will issue us a notice to proceed. So the design build team, which is Approach Construction and AECOM, we've agreed to a contract with Charlotte Water. Charlotte Water's agreed to those terms and to the cost and to the schedule. So that's being signed now. And so as soon as it's signed, Charlotte Water will issue a notice to proceed that will allow us to move into construction. Some of the first things that you're going to see is some contractor mobilization. You're going to start to see equipment and some materials starting to arrive along the project route that could start as early as next week. We'll start to move materials in so that we can prepare to start building this line. And overall, we're looking at a duration of about a year and a half. This is not, we won't be in the same location for a year and a half, so we won't be right in front of somebody's yard for a year and a half. This is a linear project spread over several miles, and so we will build a section and move to the next section, and so you'll see work progressing through Davidson over the next year and a half, where ultimately we're looking to complete this project in the spring of 2022. Now, so for a few of those things that you would expect during construction, I'm going to hand the reins over to Brandon Hill with Approach Construction to kind of go over some of those things that you're going to see in and around Davidson over the next several months.
Yes, thank you, Philip. I'm Brandon Hill with Approach Construction. I'm the design build manager for the project. I've actually enjoyed working this project with Charlotte Water and AECOM as a team to hopefully come up with the best project for everybody, and to make it as as convenient as it can be for everybody. I would like to talk to you a little bit about the construction of the project. Of course, it is construction. We'll be working in the roadways, install this water main. There will be some road closures for safety of our people and also the traveling public. These will be done for installation of the transmission main, to relocate some smaller water mains and sewer mains, and as well as to deal with some asbestos removal that we have to do on the project. The traffic control, you'll see various stages of it, from lane closures to full detours to some temporary daily closures as needed just to maintain safety. And I would like to stress, this is safety for everybody. It's not for my convenience or anything else. It's to keep us safe, keep you and Davidson safe, and to make it a successful project for everybody to help with the supply of the water. As Philip mentioned earlier, we are mostly in the roadway, very little private impact. That helps for a lot of reasons, so we won't be right in front of somebody's house or front yard. So that does make things a lot better for multiple reasons. There will also be some water service disruption, minimal, since this is a transmission main. However, we do have a few smaller diameter domestic mains that we'll need to move from a couple of 6-inch water mains, 8-inch water main, I believe, and a couple of sewer mains. We will certainly coordinate with everybody. We'll give advance notices. Typically, in the past, they've been door hangers, so everybody that would be affected would actually be notified. We would not do it. The only exception to that would be if for some reason there was an emergency. And those are unfortunately out of everybody's hands, but hopefully we'll have none of those. Certainly looking for a successful project. Sediment erosion control will be a major part of this project. We do not want to cause any problems with streams. We don't cause any problem with wetlands or the creeks. Some of these things that you may see could be silt fence put up along the project. We could have silt sacks in the catch basins, check dams as needed in different places. Those are probably more on when we're off the roadway, and some other options. And we want to make sure we protect the environment as we install this water main. Next slide, please. Get into a little more detail with the project. I'm going to try to hit as many highlights that I know will be important to the town of Davidson. And all these will be coordinated between CLTWater, Davidson, make sure we let the public know. We'll have bus routes to deal with. We'll have traveling public. So all this will be coordinated. We'll make sure we discuss, communicate with the town to make sure to make it as minimum as possible. One of the highlights I would like to mention is Main Street will have a detour probably for a weekend. We're working with NCDOT to coordinate that one out at this moment. It should be one weekend and we'll cross the road. It was the best way and only way we could come up with to get across Main Street with minimum impact and safety. So there will be a detour at some point in time as we get that one scheduled through the NCDOT in the town of Davidson for detouring traffic to I-77 and back to Griffith Street. Sloan Street will have a handful of closures in traffic control on it. We will have to remove asbestos before we start. I think a lot of people are aware in Davidson of that now. We're trying to make sure we keep it safe and to do that. So there will be some lane closures with it. There will be some detours with it too. So we want to make sure everybody is safe. And then on top of that, we do have a couple of small diameter water lines, the sewer main, and then of course the transmission main to put in. So Sloan Street will have different times scheduled for detours and lane closures. Beatty Street will be pretty much limited to lane closures. Most of it is in one travel lane, makes things a lot simpler to deal with. We don't have quite as much impact in existing utilities to deal with, so that will be a little simpler. There may be some minor road closures for side streets, depending on as we're crossing in front of those. And Shearer Street will be similar to Beatty Street. We'll have to definitely coordinate with all property owners there because that is a tight area to put the water main in and to upgrade the sewer. There's some need of it to upgrade the sewer that's in the middle of the street. So we'll have a few impacts there also. As Philip mentioned before, this will be it is a linear project. We will be moving, so we will not be in in any one spot forever. So the nice part is hopefully once we get some of it done, we will be moving on. As we test the water line, we'll try to complete areas behind us to close those up and to minimize the impacts to the public. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, we do have some asbestos removed. We will be involved in that, where we will remove asbestos-containing soil that is in the area of the water line that we'll be installing. We have an accredited asbestos contractor who knows what they're doing and can help make sure we do this correctly and safely, along with AECOM's expertise and helping us to make sure we design it, monitor it, and keep up with it. And I will turn that over to Chris Rocco now at this moment.
Thanks, Brandon. So on the previous slide, I think you guys saw the length of the entire route, including the extension of the route that's currently under review. During the design process, AECOM did an extensive assessment of the area, which included the review of potential properties along the route or nearby the route that could cause either a worker exposure issue or an environmental issue during the construction activity. And we did that back in January. And then based on those results, we did some follow-up work to sort of dial in where our areas of primary concern were. And as a result of that, we found that the primary area is going to be occurring somewhere between Main Street and Griffith Street. So we have developed a asbestos work plan to line out the activities that we'll be performing in accordance with federal, state, and local guidelines. And every step of the way, we were performing those with all the various entities that give us permit approvals and regulatory agencies and departments and everything like that. So as far as what to expect in the realm of asbestos, like Brandon said, safety is our number one concern, and that goes from the public all the way down to the folks that are actually performing the work. Like Brandon mentioned, we have accredited and licensed individuals that will be performing the work that are very experienced in this realm of construction and remediation activity. That is where the rubber meets the road. We have the trained folks know how to remove this stuff safely and create as minimal impact to the area as possible. And that way we can help Brandon's crew keep moving and not have us cause any sort of hindrances in the schedule. Because the whole idea of this is that the asbestos aspect of this work is just a blip on the radar for the total of the project. And we don't want to get in the way of that, but every step of the way, we're going to make sure that all local guidelines are followed. In our asbestos work plan, we do have several contingencies in there of possible, accidents or anything like that, unexpected occurrences that could occur within the subsurface and the associated mitigation strategies. They have all been reviewed by the team and approved by North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. So we are double, triple stamping what we are putting our arm on as far as making sure that we are protecting our workers and the public and the environment as well. And I think that is it for me, and I will be handing it back to Brandon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chris. As Chris was saying, we were planning on we will be safe with this. That's the reason we have experts involved. I have to admit, it's not my area expertise as water lines is, but we're looking forward to having their help in this to make sure we all stay safe, myself included, and the public. Talk about communication now. Of course, this project is very visible. In the past, we want to make sure that we communicate with residents, communicate with the town. There'll be a lot of different methods that happen, whether it's door hangers, it could be website notifications, it could be different ways of contact. We'll make sure to keep in touch with people. It's anticipated we'll probably have another meeting or two, possibly more as needed to make sure we communicate fully with everyone to know what happened. Communication on this project is paramount, both for safety, both for letting people know, and to make it as successful as we can make it for everybody. If you would go back one slide, please. We will have constant contact, of course, with CLTWater and the town of Davidson to make sure we keep up with it. And like I said, we'll have additional public meetings as we need. Next slide, please. These are actually from phase 1 and 2. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. We installed phase 1 and 2 with CLTWater from Cornelius through South Street, connecting to a water main at the Davidson College, and also stubbing it out to Walnut Street, prepare for this phase 3 that we're currently looking at now. So we are familiar. We know how important it is to everybody to make sure that we're safe, make sure we communicate, and to make sure we let everybody know what's going on. A few of these are examples of some of the things we had to do on the project. As you can see, we've had different sections where we replaced some sewer manholes in the top left corner. Unfortunately, everything was in the middle of the road. We had to do a detour at the time to keep it safe and be able to complete it. Also had a few road crossings, as you'll see in the next slide over. Those typically, because of the location with them, they end up causing a little more, it's a little harder to get by, so we have to detour some of the routes in and close some of the streets. Some other aspects of it, you'll notice open trenches that we have to put the water line in. These can vary in size based on the size of the water line. Smaller diameter, we may not have to have a trench box. They'll be a lot smaller, a lot easier to deal with. Unfortunately, some of these other ones, such as 24-inch water main, which is a significant pipe, is a lot more intense and a lot more work involved in it, with the trench boxes to protect the workers, the size of the trench that is needed to put the pipe in. So the work changes with each one of them. There are some examples of Davidson where we were on South Street, between the paving that we did, between the trenches that we had to open up to put the 24-inch transmission main in. And like I said before, we definitely want to make sure we keep it safe for everybody. Hate for the inconvenience, but hopefully we'll do our best to make sure it is successful for everybody. Next slide, please. Philip mentioned earlier on schedule. There's quite a few pieces to this project. Like I said, it is a very visible project in the town of Davidson, as well as the areas that we're working in. As he mentioned before, we have just completed the design phase. We're completing it now as we speak with permits and finalizing things, and completing paperwork with the things that we need to do with permits, the contracts, and the rest of it. Anticipated starting actually next week. Now, that does not mean we will be actually digging a trench and in front of everybody. That is more a lot of prep work that goes into starting these projects. I'll have to get a lot ready, get materials moved in, begin erosion control, clearing, and just to give a few thoughts of what we'll start first. As we begin moving in, you'll see us bringing in material and equipment move in. A couple of the first steps that will happen will be the clearing that we'll have to do. There's a little bit that is around the church area as we got across the railroad. Minimum impact, but something we have to do to get across the railroad and get to the correct side of the railroad tracks for the water line. We'll also be installing erosion control, getting prepared to do some saw cut and some asphalt removal so that we can begin the removal of asbestos with our subcontractor. That will anticipate taking a few weeks on it, anywhere from 2 to 3, depending on how the weather will go. And the typical layout of the project as shown here is we will plan on crossing Main Street in the fall is what we would like to do if all things go well. Get that out of the way. Continue Main Street, continue to Sloan Street, and work our way to Griffith Street to hopefully do between now and the next year. There's several phases of that with the smaller diameter water mains and the large diameter water main we got to put in, as well as asbestos. From that point, as we could start working and getting that water line installed there, we will continue on to Griffith Street and work from there down Beatty all the way to Shearer Street and finish up slightly in the Shearer Street at the moment with a stub out from the 24-inch water main and 16-inch water main at that point for Shearer Street. We anticipate 18 months of work time for this project. We anticipate hopefully being done around the spring of 2022, April or May, depending on how weather goes. I'm not sure if everybody remembers the last as familiar to phase 1 and 2, we had a lot of weather, which caused a lot of extra time that we had to deal with just for dealing with wet weather and all the rain. At this time, I will turn it over to Philip.
Thank you, Brandon. All right. I'd like to hit a few overall questions that folks have asked throughout the design, or things that we think that you may find relevant to this project. And then after we go through these, then we'll check any other questions that have come in or any other questions that come up about this project. But the first one, where will construction primarily take place? As we said throughout the presentation, it's a linear project, and so construction won't be in the same spot for the entire time period. Construction is going to start near Main Street. It's going to continue down Sloan, across Griffith, down Beatty, and to Shearer Street. As Brandon mentioned in the schedule, the first half of the project will be working from Main Street to Griffith Street, and then the second half, Griffith Street to Shearer Street. How long will the work take? The overall project's about 18 months, maybe a little, right around a year and a half. But the project won't be in one location for a year and a half. We'll be moving linearly through Davidson from one end to the other, and so the impacts will shift and change. Will it interfere with our commute or daily drive? There will be some traffic impacts with this project. One of our primary goals with this project was to place this water line in road right-of-way, because we wanted to limit impact to private property. And so the trade-off for that is there will be some temporary impacts to the roadways. We have approved detour plans for the one weekend on Main Street, and then with Sloan Street. Those have been approved by DOT. We also are going to be doing traffic control, where we may have a lane closure here and there. Those processes are also approved by DOT. So yes, there will be some minimal impacts, but they will be temporary. What are the working hours? Primarily going to be starting 7:30 in the morning. During the winter time, you have less daylight hours, so you can't quite work any earlier than that, and then working until 5:30. So just a typical working day. There will be occasional weekend work. One such occurrence will be the Main Street crossing, where DOT wants us to make that crossing on the weekend because it's a lower traffic impact, lower traffic count during the weekend. And there may be a few other spots, but typically work's not going to occur on the weekend. It's going to be during the week, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30. Will there be night work? There will not be planned to do any night work. Now, if there is an emergency, as Brandon mentioned earlier, then we may have to work at night during an emergency. But as far as our primary plan, we'll not be doing night work. Will any trees need to be removed, and why? There are a few trees that need to be removed. Going back to one of our primary goals of utilizing road right-of-way, that also minimizes impacts to trees, because typically road right-of-ways are clear. It's either pavement or you're in the shoulder of the road. But there are a few locations that trees will need to be removed. During our design, we worked with a certified arborist to minimize impacts to trees and then also protect trees. And we also had the town involved with their arborist as well with that process. How will I know if my water service is going to be interrupted or shut off? Well, if our interruptions are going to be minimal on this, because this is a transmission main, and so That is that's a good thing, so it should have minimal impacts to individual services. However, there may be some times there will need to be some interruptions. Proper notification will be required. Right now, it's at least 72 hours. We'll do that with door hangers. Brandon did mention if in case it was an emergency, we may not be able to provide that notification, but we will be working to return water service as quickly as possible in those instances. My water pressure already works well. Why is a larger main needed? So as Stephen mentioned in some of the first slides, the water main is serving a few purposes. One, it's increasing reliability in the system. There is, as long as all the water lines are up and running, then there may not be an issue. But if there is a disruption in a water line, Charlotte Water wants to make sure that they can still provide the same level of service that you come to expect during interruptions. And then also to enhance fire flow for the area. Next slide. So if you have questions during construction, here's the way to do it is to contact Stephen Scott with Charlotte Water. He's the engineering project manager. His phone number's here with his email address. That information will also be it's on the website. It's should be on the mailer that you received. It's going to be on this recording that's uploaded to the project site. So you will be able to find it at different locations to be able to contact him with questions during construction. And then also I just highlight once again, you can go to charlottewater.org and click on projects, construction, and then our project, the Davidson Water Transmission Main Phase 3 extension to 115 to find additional information and contact information. All right. With that, Laura, I think that we will, I guess, go through some of the questions that saw started coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everybody for joining us. There were some questions that came in. So one of the ones that I think Stephen wanted to address with the group is a question about the residents of Davidson that are at the top end of the proposed water line. Why would they exist when they already have a perfectly great well and healthy water supply in the community of Davidson Point?
Yeah, so I'll address that. The alignment shown on the previous slides that extends north of the Mecklenburg-Iredell line, that alignment is still being evaluated, and there's no decision at this time about the possible connection to the neighborhood.
Great. And then we also had another question about a last meeting and the discussion that was had in regards to pressure changes as it concerns Davidson Point. Testing was discussed during that meeting, and where does that currently stand?
Pressure changes. This is related to Davidson Point. Again, that is part of the evaluation, but it's not completed at this time. So to be clear to those on the call, this project, as of right now, we are starting where Phase 2 ended at Main Street and Concord Road or Walnut Street, and we are ending at the county line. So any connection north of that line is still in evaluation.
And if anybody just needs the questions, feel free to kind of type in that chat box on the bottom right. We'd be happy to answer them. I can give you all another minute if you'd like to type something in. I think there is another concern about the tax increases. I think that might go along with what you had been saying, Stephen, about it being under evaluation, but you wanted to address that.
Yeah, so speaking to, I guess we've got two questions. I'll address it two different ways. As far as existing Charlotte Water customers as an effect on this project, there are no changes to water and sewer rates or taxes as a result of this project. But I'll defer to my previous response regarding Davidson Point. Is right now that connection and any water line north of the county line is still being evaluated.
Great. And then I think we did have another Davidson Point question, but it was in regards to if there'll be a follow-up meeting to the March 2020 meeting at Davidson Point.
Yeah, there is a meeting being planned that will be hosted by the town. The date for that meeting has not been set, but we will be in attendance at that meeting to answer any Davidson Point related questions. But that will come at a later date.
Great, thanks. And yes, there will be a recording of this meeting available on the project website. So as soon as we have that link back from Cisco, we will be able to post that for you all to access that information. So we just also had another question. Where can I send information about our Davidson Point well water community survey results versus Charlotte Water? I think someone was
if you'd like, any questions about this project, including information like that, please feel free to send them to me. My contact information was available on the prior slide. It's on the website. If you want to just shoot that to me, yeah, that's me right there. That's my cell number. So yeah, if you have questions about this project, please, we'd love to answer them. Construction's right around the corner. We know there's going to be questions, so please feel free.
Great. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, like I said earlier, we will have a recording of this meeting, so it will be totally available for you all to look into and check out the PowerPoint that we put together, as well as obviously this presentation. And obviously you can reach out to Stephen with any questions or concerns that you may have. We want to make sure that obviously communication is open about this project, and we're happy for your involvement with it.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for your time tonight, taking time out of your evening to come. And again, if you have any questions, there's my contact info, so I appreciate it.